Hello, everybody out there. Matthew McConaughey here. I'm going to be sitting down today virtually. We'd rather be, as we said offline prior to this, in front of some fire, talking about what we're talking about in person, but because of the times, we are not. Myself and Commissioner Don Garber of Major League Soccer are going to be chatting today, talking about all things Major League Soccer, where it's been, where it is, and where it's going. Commissioner Garber, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Matthew. Great to chat again. Can't wait for the kickoff to the season. But, man, I'm excited about this. Again, I'd rather be there with you live, but, this ought to be a lot of fun.
We'll make that happen next time.
There you go.
I got a bunch of questions for you. Let me start off with something that's obvious. Major League Soccer. It is happening. What I mean by that is its trajectory is higher than it's ever been. It's as hot as it's ever been. From you, the commissioner, what has been the key in your mind to the league's growth?
Matthew, it's interesting because our sport's new. We're one of the newest major leagues in the United States and Canada, throughout North America. And, probably 20 years ago, we started saying that MLS was going to be a league for what we were calling a new America, changing demographics, young people that are getting empowered. And look how empowered they've been through this last year and seeing the voice that young people could have. Well, those young people grew up with the game of soccer. Now they want a team of their own. They want to be able to be passionate supporters. So the empowerment of youth has been a big part of it. And the Hispanic story, what a big story that is in Texas, but it really is throughout our country. When the league was founded, there were, less than 30 million Hispanics in our country. And as of today, it's double. There's, almost 65 million. So all of those things that make us this League for New America, that's been a super big part of it. But, a lot of it has to do with, it's unusual to be living in a generation where you could see a league start with 8 teams and then grow to be near 30 that we are now. It's just, if you're a baseball fan or a basketball fan, maybe there's a new team or so, but basically the leagues are what they are, and they've been that way for generations. This league has been coming into great cities like Austin, Texas, right, where there's a energy in the city, there's a passion for the game, and we just year by year go into these new markets, and great things have been happening. And I think the third, and there's only one more thing after that, this idea of building a stadium. You're such a big supporter of Texas. Imagine what a football game would be like if it wasn't in that legendary stadium. Well, we're building all that from the ground up here. You guys are going to have a brand new stadium. It's going to be part of the landscape. It's going to be part of the architecture of your city, and we've been doing that from scratch. League started, had no stadiums, and now we'll have 27. So the building the foundation of the sport. And lastly, and you can relate to this because you're a new owner of an MLS team, it's ownership. And it's not just something that commissioners say. Owners really do matter. They're the caretakers of the brand. They're the ones that are pushing it out to get supporters who care about it. They're ensuring that their clubs are engaged in the community. And when you get a good owner with a good staff and you put them in a good stadium and a good market, well, man, that's really what's been driving. That's the formula, Matthew, for what's made MLS work.
Heard. What's made it work and what will continue to make it work and grow. Yeah, soccer's now becoming architecture in many cities that we're building. And just to see and feel the sport directly and indirectly, to see the science behind the sports growing, but also just to feel it. It's in the vernacular of the popular sport to play in America now. And I just remember, even in my generation, not that many years ago, just 20 years ago, it was always sort of a subsidiary sport, even spoken about. And now it's not. And that is very exciting. I got another question for you.
Sure.
So here we got coming up in 2026, United States, Canada, and Mexico coming together to host FIFA 2026 World Cup. Very exciting times. What impact will the World Cup have on this league, MLS, and our sport?
Well, when we think about this, why we were also focused on trying to make the world's biggest sporting event in the world by far, Matthew. The 1994 World Cup was the most popular World Cup that international soccer that FIFA has ever had. More people went, more tickets sold, et cetera, et cetera. So we have this unique ability to have a North Star. Think about the business world that we live in. what company knows where they're going to be exactly 6 years from now? We know that in 2026 that there's going to be the biggest event in the world. It's going to be in the US, Canada, Mexico. And it allows us and our clubs and our players, all of our partners, to build towards that, to create this pent up demand, this excitement, and this energy. It'll be our 30th anniversary. So we're no longer, we'll be the new kid on the block. And it's an opportunity, I think, to create this connection between Mexico, Canada, the US. And, politically, there's been so much talk about that. What does this region really mean? But what really matters to everybody is the fact that they love the game of soccer. Obviously, in Canada and Mexico, it's called football. But this is going to be an unbelievable opportunity. I'm just incredibly excited about it.
Yeah, me too. You're right. The way you talk about it, to build toward a North Star. It's like in storytelling, movie making, what I do. To have your third act already built in, which is 2026 for soccer, that's a third act. Hey, the world's game is coming to us. We're hosting it on our front porch. To have that to build towards, that is going to be an awesome event, the place to be on the globe, and it's on our front porch, a place for our citizens and North Americans and everyone to see the game, even ones that may not love it as much today will know more about it then, and it's going to be on our front porch, all the different styles, all the different flags, all the different countries. And then by that time, the other exciting part is, not only are we hosting it, we're showing what the sport is to us,
right,
to them. Very, very exciting. I've been excited and I'm getting more excited about what that date can mean for MLS soccer.
I'll tell you, Matthew, when people who've never been to a World Cup see what it's like, it's insane. Take the Super Bowl and you have 50 of them in cities across the country. People are up all night, banging drums, blowing horns. Texas, I'm sure there'll be at least one site in Texas that'll host a game.
Guilty, yes.
It's crazy.
Speaking of Texas, let's speak about Austin, Texas.
There you go.
Right here, you see what threads I'm wearing here. So it's pretty well known, how I'm connected to Austin, how much I love the city of Austin, and a lot of us are working really hard to make Austin FC something legendary for our city. But as a commissioner, tell us what makes Austin special for you for an MLS team.
This is an interesting one. I'll get to why Austin for MLS, but what the story really, Matthew, is about sort of where are the cities in America where the future is still in front of them. Austin is such a historic city. There's so much great things that have happened there over the hundreds and hundreds of years since its founding. But what is important to us as a league today is Austin is a city on the rise, so much energy, so much culture, so much music, so much food, so much art, so many young people, so many companies that are moving there to create the new Austin. And we want to be on the front. I love this front porch. We want to put Austin as the front porch of where America is going. And we want to be right in the front. We want to be in the front of that story. So you got a great city with a lot of energy, even more so than when we announced this team, several years ago. And then you got a pretty cool ownership group. You got a young guy in Anthony Precourt, and you got yourself, and you got Eddie Morgano, his partner, and local people, plus people that really care about it. And then you add to that the stadium. That stadium in the Domain is going to be one of the great soccer stadiums in our country, and I think it's going to show the world what Austin really can be in the new Austin, with big companies going down there. And it's not just about South by Southwest, and it's not just about great music and great food. It's about what Austin's going to be, and it's going to be a great soccer town. So, man, it's perfect.
I'm with you. I believe it, and it feels that is absolutely for sure. So far, we are eager, like y'all are, to have our first night on the pitch, to have our first experience in our stadium. It's a game on the come, it's a city on the come, and they are two emerging things: the game of soccer and the city of Austin coming together. And that's another reason why I agree with you. It is a perfect time and a perfect city for it. Speaking of owners. and I am a new owner at Austin FC. Give me a piece of advice for being a part owner in a first-year team in the MLS.
Well, let me start with it broadly, Matthew. I said this when I was at the press conference in Austin. We were in a cool bar, everybody's cheering and whatnot. And I said, hey, you might be cheering me now, but you're going to be booing me tomorrow when we have to fine one of your players or we got to, suspend somebody here and there. So the first thing is never get on the wrong side of the commissioner. That's whether you're a first-year owner or otherwise. But, I think, and listen, you and I have talked about this before, Matt, there's a new generation of owners coming in that really understand the importance of culture. They really understand the importance of a local community. They understand the power of sport. So what new owners really need to do is to figure out, you can only be new once. After that, you're new and improved, right? And then after that, you're old. So you got to really take advantage of that first year and ensuring that the brand means everything you want it to be. Get the team right, though that's not, players get injured, referees make bad calls. You can't depend, a winning team is not a sales strategy, right? It helps, but it's not the way that's going to drive all that opportunity and value. But I think the most important thing is for you particular, Matthew, to really be sure that this team represents your community. It represents Austin. It speaks to what this city will be so that it could be different from every other city in Major League Soccer and frankly, every other city around the world. I think the club did a great job on launching the brand, creating the oak, right, which is iconic, great colors, got a great coach in Josh Wolf. So as an owner, just, pay attention to all of that. And you've had conversations with, I saw you do something with Will Farrell, right? Will's not a comedian when he's sitting in an LAFC meeting.
No.
It's not even that much fun for me to hang out with, right? He's literally wants to understand what do they need to do to be successful on and off the field. And I'm excited for you and the rest of your partners. It's going to be great. Cherish it.
Yes, I hear you. You're right. You said you only knew once. You get one time for a first impression. You never want to come out being hasty at the same time. We sure are excited about it. And I believe that our foundation at this point, and hopefully will continue to be set to launch something that can become classic, that can become legendary and synonymous with the team in the city. That's some of the fire questions I got from you. You got any from me?
I do, man. So this is, similar to you, right? You get, because I've listened to your interviews, before this, and I get interviewed all the time, but I never get the opportunity to interview anybody else, right? So I cherish that, sitting back on the chair and having my notes and pretending like I'm really smart. So I hope I don't screw this up. But I think the most important thing for me, Matthew, is, man, you got a lot of stuff going on in your life, right? Both in your family life, personal life, and what you're doing professionally. Your new book, right, with Green Lights, which is really terrific. So what made you, of all the things that you could do, all the investments that you could make, why Austin FC?
Yeah, great question. Generally, I'm looking for legacy choices in my life right now, meaning not one-off choices, not investments of my time, energy, and creativity for the next year or 10 years. I'm looking for choices that I look forward to having on my proverbial Monday morning desk every Monday, all the way through the weekend and through and next year and 10 years, and when I'm on my deathbed, and hopefully something to pass on after I'm gone to my kids and future generations. So I saw Austin FC as a chance for a real legacy choice for all those reasons. Austin FC came to me at a time at an intersection where my family's love for the game meets a city in Austin that is absolutely primed for the game in many of the ways that you and I have been talking about. My wife is Brazilian. My kids love the game of soccer. You can play it anywhere. It's a game and it's a city that are both on the come, as I was talking about earlier. You said Austin being a city where the future is still in front of us. It's a a game where the future is still in front of us. It's an emerging city, an emerging game. It's a disruptive city, a disruptive game in America now. Austin is young and diverse. You said it earlier. That's football. That's soccer. Plus, Austin is already home to two of the three sort of universal languages, being food and music. So it was high time to add the third universal language, football. Yeah.
So what do we not know about it, Matthew? So for us that are, running a continental business, right? So what's going to surprise us about Austin? So I've been there quite a bit, but I've never lived there. I hear about it. I hear about companies moving there and all the cool. I've been to South by many, many times. Tell me something that we're going to see that we don't really know about this city.
So one of the great things about Austin is, look, we don't have Niagara Falls. We don't have Disney World. We don't have these places that are tourist destinations that people come for a certain event. What you have in Austin, the DNA of Austin, the core of Austin, which makes it so great, is the people. And the people make up the vibe. It's a town where if you follow your ears, you will like what you see. It's a music town. When Austin works its best, you can feel it when you're there. You've got this capital of the state in Austin, Texas, on this side of the street. And across the street, you have this young, vibrant university with 50,000 young men and women thriving for progress. And where those two reach across and push and pull off each other is part of the vibrancy of Austin, Texas. As I said earlier, we have a couple of the things that go worldwide. We have food. We have music. Those are universal languages. It's a vibe town. You'll see. We've said the word young, youthful a couple of times. It is a forever young town. Even if you're 85 years old, you have a youthful outlook and an endlessly optimistic outlook in the city of Austin, Texas. It is a great place to come. And people ask me all the time, wait, where should I go? Where should I not go? I said, look, if you're looking for food, drink, and good company, you go anywhere, because if someplace in Austin is not providing that, they aren't going to last very long.
How did it happen, Matthew? We have a team in Dallas, we have a team in Houston, right? We're trying to understand what creates a rising city. How does Nashville become Nashville? How does some of these cities that are growing, San Diego, Charlotte, how did Austin in the middle of Texas, well, not in the middle of Texas, in a certain side of Texas, but how did it happen? It just, you guys have to be thinking about that. What I'd like to know, so that we could understand how to, try to take advantage of that opportunity, but also to see how could that happen in another city, and eventually what does that mean for the league?
Well, I'll say this, and this is going to sort of answer. I'm coming from a place of being a minister of culture, like for Austin FC, for UT, for the city of Austin. Austin has a great identity. It always has had a great identity. So I think that's the first thing, is if a place has an identity where you go, oh, that's different. They know who they are. That feeling there, you could scale out. Austin, as I said earlier, it used to be just a music, politics, and university town. Now it's a banker town. Now it's a .com town. It's a tech town. People are moving there. It's always been a creative town. We honor imagination in Austin. We're a city that nobody's too good, nobody's good enough. If to get what you want, we don't run over your back to get it. We believe that we can all get it if we go side by side. And so it's always had a distinct feel, a distinct smell. The rule for Austin to get along, when Austin is really working, the rule for Austin is be you.
So how do you translate that into sort of an identity for the team? That's going to be the real opportunity and frankly the real work ahead, right? All these unique things. So
well, it's work ahead, but it's also, I think, it's right at our feet. We don't need to look outside ourselves to say, hey, who do we want to be? We're looking at the best of Austin, the truest of Austin, and saying that's who we want the club to be. We want the club, Austin FC, to be synonymous with Austin to be synonymous with Austin FC. We want the club to be the flag bearer for Austin. inside and outside the sport. I always say this. My hope is that if you take a snapshot of the stadium on any given night when we're full, that snapshot from the sky, when you zoom in, should look like all the rich and diverse pieces of Austin in one stadium. And now we're creating a destination for all the different communities in Austin to come together, 21,000 strong on any given night, and see the world's game played our way in the MLS, in our stadium, in Austin. It's really a great connector. And Austin is a city that at its best is very connected. But yet, like any city, we have our different boroughs. Well, this is a place to bring all the boroughs together as the flag bearer of Austin for people to come from young and old, all the way across the spectrum.
The team of boroughs, right? You just gotta. That's it, man. Queens, Brooklyn, Staten Island, and Manhattan, right? In Texas.
Yeah.
Well, hey, Matthew, it's great. I just really look forward to getting it all started. When all is said and done, if you're going to look back, I mentioned that the first year is the one you'll never forget, right? Like everything in life, right? You never forget the first one. Give me something that you're thinking about that you want to be able to meet when you're meeting with the staff and you're talking about we have to have impact. What do you think is that one thing you'd like to be able to look back on and say, this happened in our 2021
Yeah. All right. So look, if I'm looking back, if I'm going to jump out 50 years now, if I'm going to jump out 100 years from now, let's jump out 100 years.
There you go.
Let's be bold. Come on, technology. Help us out, babe. What could the history books, what I hope the history books say about Austin FC? That we were essentially authentically Austin from day one, out of the gate. That the history books will say, look, it's a 100-year war. And boy, Austin FC, they were in it for the long haul from day one. Which again, we've talked about. That's part of what makes this so exciting. That how often you get to be part of building a legend, starting at day one, building the foundation of that. I hope the history book says, we were forever young, forever curious, forever wild as Austinites and as Austin FC. We came in on the shoulders of cultural giants in the city, and we created new giants on the pitch. And then I would say, I hope that they look back at our debut back in early 2021, back in the old days, as the day when the Austin FC seed first saw the sun. And then say, look at what the city of Austin and Austin FC grew to be. Wow. That's legendary.
Yeah, that's very cool. That's really, really cool. All right, man. Well, I can't wait to see you. I'll be there for opening day. And I've packed stadium, I'm sure. Everybody knows that tickets are hard to get, which is a great way to kick off any new sports team. So look forward to seeing you, your family, and see history being made.
You as well.
Okay.
Until next week, thanks for the time today.
Thanks
everybody for checking in with us. We will continue these talks and more, hopefully next time in person, Commissioner Dunn.
Take care, Matthew.
All right,
be good. See you soon.
All right.